morning. My name is Eliana Magariños, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. Whether you've been with this congregation a decade or more, we welcome you. Whatever your faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory on which this church building sits as the ancestral home of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger people. We have just a few announcements today. The board will be attending its annual retreat this next Saturday. Topics will include strategic priorities for this next year. So, if you have any thoughts or ideas on the subject, please feel free to share them with a board member this week. If you are relatively new to our community and are curious to learn more about Unitarian Universalism, please consider joining Reverend Daniel for the next UU 101 luncheon, which will be held on Sunday, October 15th, immediately following the service. Childcare will be provided. Save the date for Family Game Night, Saturday, October 21st from 5:30 to 9 p.m. Food and fun for all ages. And finally, immediately after the service, please proceed directly downstairs and gather in the parking lot nearby the front entryway for a brief special presentation. Do not pass go. Do not grab a quick brownie in the fellowship hall. Go directly downstairs. It will be quick. For the most up-to-date information on these topics and others, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check the website frequently. And please join us for conversation and potluck after the service. If you're present in the sanctuary, please come to Fellowship Hall. If you're watching the live stream, the link for our Zoom coffee hour will be found in the Saturday reminder in your email. If you are just recently joining us and would like to receive our e-newsletter, please email us at uucroton@gmail.com with your name, and we will make sure to add you to the mailing list. And please remember to silence your phones. Once again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley.
It is so good to be at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley this morning. Happy Water Ceremony Sunday, everyone. Unitarian Universalism is a religious tradition that says though there might be one light, there are many windows. And though there might be one world, there are many ways of interpreting it and engaging it and living it and loving it. So it is beautiful that out of the many rooms that we came to today, right now we are in this one sanctuary to share stories, to sing songs, to participate in rituals, old and new. And with joy, we begin our new congregation year for 2023-2024. And as a special tradition that our congregation has, we begin every Sunday by ringing the bells of our congregation 8 times for the 8 ethical values of our faith tradition. We honor the dignity of every person, the interdependence of life, and the beautiful work for life-giving beloved community. All the children in our congregation, whether this is your first time or your 100th, are invited to go into the belfry with our Director of Religious Exploration, Jane Podell, where we will ring the bell 8 times. And as the bells are rung, may they be heard throughout Croton-on-Hudson. important markers as we begin New Year and as we enter every week. And we begin our service as we do every Sunday with a chalice light. Thank you.
Our chalice lighting today is by Leslie Takahashi. Here in this place of peace, may we find hope. Here in this place of connection, may we find life-giving community. Here in this place of rest, let the unrest of our hearts turn us toward justice. Here in this space made sacred by memories of connection, let us each feel ourselves part of the new that grows from the old in the spiraling unity of years. Please join me now in our unison affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice.
Unitarian Universalism has roots that are very old, but as a movement, we are new. In this country, our history is maybe 200 years old. Some of our most cherished rituals, like lighting the chalice, they go back maybe 100 years. And this ritual, which we are about to do, which congregations across the continent right now are doing this Sunday, water ceremony, is only 40 years old. It comes to us from the Women and Religion Convocation of our faith, a group of liberal religious seekers in the 70s who were trying to explore what are new rituals for a faith that is anchored in interfaith understanding. This is from the original reflection. Making our way like rivers from places distant and near, we come together to give shape to a new spirituality. Recognizing that, we see we must question every box, every definition, every assignment from an authority outside of our own being, so that together we can create and recreate for ourselves the rituals and symbols that give meaning. Water is life. Water is empowerment. Water symbolizes hope. So we come together to hear, to share, to speak, to inspire, and to celebrate through new and growing rituals, knowing that our energy and our love are transforming. In this ceremony and ritual, we have two beautiful vases. And in a moment, we'll have a beautiful musical reflection. Row by row, Jane will help direct, row by row, people will come up and pour from the water you have brought with you into this vase. If I cause concern and some of you say, I brought no water today, do not fear. Because Anne and I have these wonderful pitchers, and you can come and just pour a little bit into this common vase. So out of many rooms we came, out of many pitchers the water is held, but here we are in Croton-on-Hudson, near the aqueduct, near the Hudson River, celebrating water is life. May it be so. part of it. And water ceremony reminds us of our connections, our unfolding story. In a moment, we will sing a beautiful hymn, number 146, Soon the Day Will Arrive, which reminds us that something else is possible each day. After we sing that hymn together, a beautiful hymn, number 413, Go Now in Peace, will play. At that moment, our religious exploration program will begin, and children in the congregation are invited to follow Jane Podell into the fellowship hall where religious exploration will take place today. We begin the service multiple generations because water ceremony needs all of us. Our congregation needs all of us. And with that spirit, let's sing number 146, Soon the Day Will Arrive.
Our reading today is called Hope in the Greater Goodness by our dear Reverend Emeritus, Reverend Jim Covington. As Unitarian Universalists, we use and are inspired by sacred and secular understandings that help us to live into our values. Our sermon reading today is from the letter that our Minister Emeritus, Reverend Jim Covington, wrote to this congregation in the days after the terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. Most of us are better people than we were a week ago, more conscious of life's preciousness, more impassioned to cooperate and not compete. Most of us are more cognizant today than ever before of what really matters: sacrifice, generosity, patience, thoughtfulness, community, and most of all, loving kindness. The shadow of death has made us more aware of what really counts in life. Nevertheless, many are still deeply disturbed by what has happened. Many still cannot sleep well. Please call me if you need to talk. In the meantime, I pray for peace. I pray for wisdom over prideful revenge. I pray our consciences will be quickened and clear. I pray our anger will guide us to the right path of justice. I pray that our fear will heighten our awareness of the preciousness of life and not immobilize us. I pray our sadness will embolden us to savor life, even as we know more than ever that life is fragile and suffering is inevitable. I pray our hope in the greater goodness of people will not falter. I pray we will not fall to self-righteousness or deny our own hypocrisy. I pray we will continue to cherish each other and love one another, knowing humbly that no one is perfect, and that if we care enough, we can see the same tears, pain, and joy in the face of another that are in ourselves. Amen. Love to all. Let us now bear witness to the joys and sorrows experienced in our community. If you have a brief yet personally significant joy or sorrow that you are willing to share, please come up to the microphone and speak loudly so that everyone, including the people watching at home, can hear you. If you would prefer to only have a candle lit without speaking, please just stand or raise your hand and I will light a candle for you. I would like to begin myself. I found out, unfortunately, this week that a man that I haven't seen in a while, but I used to perform with, he was a lovely, sweet, very, very talented man, has unfortunately passed away.
Hi, I'm Susie Dugas. I just wanted to say my son Tyler, who many of you know, is attending community college, and I haven't had to do anything other than write the check.
Good morning. I would like to light a candle of concern for our great nephew. His name is Tucker. Tucker was supposed to start his senior year this week, and instead last week he received a diagnosis of leukemia. As we speak, he's getting intensive chemo. He is surrounded by a very strong and loving family, so send some good juju down to Tarrytown.
Hi, my name is Pat Krugman. Would like to light a candle of joy and gratitude for grandparents. Today's Grandparents' Day. My grandparents, Winifred Marie and Francis Richard, lifelines for me. So happy Grandparents' Day to everybody who is one.
Hi, my name is Christine Clayton. I wanted to just say first, we had a summer of broken bones. First with my daughter, who many of you know broke her collarbone, and thank you for the fellowship thinking about her. And for my mother, who took 2 falls this summer and broke her pelvis. But they are both healing. The body's amazing. They're both healing in body and mind because it hits us on different levels, I think. And then I wanted to share a strange joy or a glad surprise. Matt and I adopted a rescue dog, and I've had moments of sheer terror and like, what did we do? And we're so close to being an empty nest, but total and undescribable joy in this little girl named Bella.
Good morning, I'm Allie Fraze, and I just wanted to say a special thanks to everyone who came out yesterday, including Reverend Daniel, to our Croton community celebration, really helping our LGBTQ community in Croton and neighboring communities feel welcome and loved and safe, and it was beautiful, and there was such a wonderful turnout, and for everyone who sent their love and their blessings our way and everything. And if you didn't get to see the photos, the church has shared a lot of them, and they're really wonderful.
I light a candle for the memory and life of James Farrell, who attended our congregation in the 90s. His wife, Mara, reached out this week. There'll be a celebration of life for James later this Thursday in Cold Springs, but it was just a real joy to hear her deep love for her husband and family. And it was just moving to hear all these years later the love that this congregation gave them at a time they really needed it, led them back to reach out at this moment.
Hi, I'm April. I have a joy and a sorrow. The sorrow is when I was walking from my car to the congregation, to the front door, I just realized that, I wouldn't see John Ogner here today. It's my first time being here without him here, so I just want to say that's a big sorrow. And the joy is, I'm so happy to be here. We didn't really make it in the summer, and walking in the room and seeing our people, I felt like these are our people, and then the room is so beautiful. So that's it's a joy and a sorrow. Thank you.
Drug addict with long-term sobriety, and if anybody has any issues or needs someone to maybe reach out to and talk to, I'm always available. My sorrow is that one of the members of my 12-step group lost their child to a drug overdose. Thanks.
We also acknowledge all the unspoken joys and sorrows held within the sanctuary of our hearts, and all those people who have yet to find a home where they too can share their joys and sorrows.
for a moment of pause, prayer, centering, reflection. I hold close the memory of John Agner. I remember the last time I saw him in July, I said, "John, it's good to see you." And then he said, "It's good to be able to see you." And he had that smile, that smile. So this prayer is for John and for all who need it. Spirit of life and love, bigger than the universe, smaller than a grain of sand, be with us today as we hold all the joys, ordinary and difficult, all the sorrows, painful and gentle. May we be with one another today and in the days to come like water. May we remember the deep connections through all the journeys of our life, that we are one river. May we encounter surprises on this journey. May we be present on this journey. And whether it is rocky or still, may we know and seek love. May it be so. Would you join in a moment of silence? At the end of the last congregation year, very end of June, I went to my desk and I found this newsletter from October 2001. It was placed on my desk by someone who I think is in the back of the congregation right now, named Carl. And I just found this letter beautiful. It was from Reverend Jim in the week or so after so much of the New York area was traumatized, in shock, scared, blaming innocent people, mourning relatives, just in total terror, and also showing up again and again and again. And I love this prayer because it asks us to say, don't lose our hope in the greater goodness of people. Don't lose our hope in the greater goodness of people. And it's not a tepid sidebar comment, "Oh, don't worry, people are good." That's not what Reverend Jim was saying. And that's not what liberal religion says, and that's not what our tradition says. We don't say inherently everything is great. Everything always works out how it's supposed to. Everything always, every instant always leads towards the best. That's not a Unitarian Universalist teaching. What is the teaching is showing up with the reality we encounter and expressing love, no matter what we face. No matter what we face. There is an old prayer that, of all people, Emerson said. And he offered that we, as spiritual seekers, should say, our faith should blend with the light of rising and of setting suns, with the flying cloud and the singing bird and the breath of flowers. And for a long time I thought, that's beautiful, and yet that's not enough. Because I, perhaps like you, have had tremendous difficulties at different points in my life. I remember, even though I was in another state in Rhode Island, my mother coming home in shock on 9/11 because one of the parents in her school had died that morning because they were on one of the American Airlines flights. And that was a ripple further away. You who were here experienced that in a way I did not. But for years growing up in college, I heard stories of just friends who were just traumatized when they would talk about this encounter. And I noted that there were different versions of the story, and some people lifted up their grandmother called them to make sure they were okay. And some people talked about a cousin who went into the city and was a firefighter. And there were other people who found so many different ways to interact. Earlier this summer, I went to the Shrine of St. Nicholas, which is a big Orthodox cathedral near the memorial in Lower Manhattan. And there are these mosaics on the wall, and the one that caught my eye was actually an icon of individuals in boats leaving Lower Manhattan to New Jersey as a religious icon. So alongside these images of Mary and Jesus, there were people helping other people in Lower Manhattan find connection, hope, and freedom, and saying in this most traditional of religious entities that actually what was holy was people showing up in a moment of fear. And we can be proud that as Unitarian Universalists at that moment, alongside showing up in mourning and assistance and repair, the president of our association, Reverend Bill Sinkford, who was the first African-American president of our tradition, said the most important thing that Unitarian Universalists can do right now is call Muslim and Sikh communities. And all across the country, how can Unitarian Universalist congregations reach out with our neighbors, create community dinners, show up to do joint RE programs? And in his newsletters in the following years, he would lift up instances of these connections because he saw that at the same time so many people had this healing impulse to do good. Some people, because of the trauma of fear, reached out and blamed innocent individuals for the acts of a few extremists who killed so many of all backgrounds and faiths. And Reverend Sinkford said again and again, Unitarian Universalists are called to, this language may sound familiar, side with love. The side with love mantra came about in response to trauma. It grew through our advocacy for marriage equality, but it was tied to the 9/11 response to say Unitarian Universalists are not about retreating. We're about what Reverend Jim said, hope in the greater goodness. Hope in the greater goodness. Is there anything more radical in American culture right now than to have hope in greater goodness? I have had an unusual summer in that at different points I've had conversations with colleagues, Unitarian Universalists, lay leaders, and ministers in congregations across the country, in Texas, in Massachusetts. And everyone's talked about this feeling, it's not exhaustion, but it's almost like a weariness, an uncertainty, almost a dread, like what's going on in our culture? Something is off. Something's not resetting. We kept thinking, well, after this cycle, after this election, things will reset and we'll be kind again. Something's off. But what I've been overwhelmed by are stories that even in the face of harassing phone calls like Temple Israel experienced in our town a few weeks ago, even in the face of threats of arson like an Episcopal church in Arizona experienced, people keep going to religious community. They keep showing up. And they keep going to food pantries. And they keep giving rides to people who are sick. And they keep checking in on neighbors. And even if in certain media spaces we hear a lot of anger and demagoguery, there are people who just say we have to stay focused. We have to show up. We have to not give the power to the smaller group which is trying to demonize. We have to side with love. Ali alluded to it, but in Croton-on-Hudson in the last summer, I have been overjoyed at the connections that the Episcopal community, the Lutheran Church, our congregation, Temple Israel, the Methodist congregation have jointly worked to make public statements that there are faith traditions that affirm LGBT love as whole, sacred, and good. I have been amazed that yesterday, if you went into Croton Village from the Blue Pig, which has amazing vegan ice cream, from the Blue Pig up to Holy Name near the food pantry, there was almost 50, 60 people just waving rainbow flags and beautiful signs that said Croton Pride and had hearts and stars. And there were some hate signs. There were. But it was clearly a celebration. There was a juggler on the street. There was joy. There was joy. One quote that has haunted me in a good way since I was about 21 was on the wall of the Unitarian congregation where I first committed to this faith, and it said, "Organized error is more powerful than unorganized truth." It's a very 19th century statement, but organized error can be more powerful than unorganized truth or unorganized love. Love is something we have to choose to side with. Love is something we commit again and again to build. And that takes time. And that takes patience. And that takes growth and repair and repentance and trying again. And that's beautiful. And that's what love is. Love isn't an avoidance of conversation. Love is not hiding from difference. It's communication and growth. That old notion about the light of rising and setting suns, we're part of a world that is changing every day. And we can be intentional in cultivating spaces and friendships and encounters that are about the sacred holy. Reverend Jim said that most of us are better people than we were a week ago, more conscious of life's preciousness, more impassioned to cooperate and not compete. Most of us are more cognizant of what really matters. Through the experiences that we've shared as a community and continue to, we constantly have an invitation to create. It is our ritual to ring the bell, but that's new. It is our ritual to bring water together. That's 40 years old. It is our ritual to share flowers as a sign of membership and beautiful diversity. That's from the 1920s. But each generation can contribute to this growing river of love and adds a story. Croton on Hudson is on the banks of one of the most beautiful rivers in the world. We are one of the hubs of water for one of the largest cities on the planet. There is life here, and the life that we steward and create has beautiful meaning. I was overwhelmed yesterday with total strangers saying, "It's so amazing to see religious people care." And I think sometimes in our Unitarian Universalist or liberal religious space, we forget how often people hold stories that are so painful and that push them away from community. When we were packing up yesterday, a young man in a car drove by and he shouted something pretty ignorant. And I keep thinking about him. What happened to that 20-year-old that he felt the need to say that? I'm not going to repeat it. But he's who we need to think about. How can our little circle in this town, where he probably is from, if not the area, have a ripple that reaches this alienated 20-year-old man? Because someone taught him. And he needs some other influences, because whatever's going on isn't good. And you and I both look at the news, and you and I both live in America. And there are a lot of young men, especially, who are getting taught things that scare me. And we can reach them. And we can reach a lot of people. And those values that we create together, it's going to change dynamics. It's going to cultivate love. We're going to anchor our families. We're going to make mistakes. But we're going to keep growing. I'm grateful to be on this journey with you. I'm grateful it is Water Ceremony Sunday. And may we always have hope in the greater goodness. May it be so.
Each week, we make an offering from the bounty that we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in a spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those who in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. Today's offering will also be shared, quite appropriately I might add, with Water is Life. Water is Life's goal is to get 1 billion people safe drinking water. For more information, please visit their website, waterislife.com. You can make your donation in several ways. If present in the sanctuary, you may give cash or a check in the offering plate as it comes by. From your phones, you can make your donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the e-newsletter. Or if you prefer, you can always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
The acorn falls from the mighty oak tree, and another tree begins to grow, and it finally becomes another mighty oak tree, and it lets its own acorns grow. From the sea to the sky and down to the ground, the water goes round and round. We're all a part of this circle of life, as the water goes round and round. Winter to spring and the summer to fall, the seasons and the years go by. Every year the flower will bloom and grow. Every year again it will die. From the sea to the sky and down to the ground, the water goes round and round. We're all a part of this circle of life, as the water goes around and around and around and around. The circle of life is all around us. Everywhere we look, we can see. We can feel it to the bottom of our heart and soul, that we always and forever will be in the circle of life. In the circle of life, we can feel it to the bottom of our heart and soul, that this is where we'll always be.
the offering. The words are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Now please rise in body or spirit for our final hymn, number 108 in your gray hymnal, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
Wait, that's the water's wide.
Sounds pretty simple. Please join me now in extinguishing the chalice. The words are again found in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Before the final blessing, a reminder. We have a brief ritual and ceremony outside, unless it's raining really, really hard, but to honor a work our congregation has done to widen the circle of access and concern. We now have paved handicap parking spots. This is the beginning of many projects our board and community is working on, but we're going to bless that. We're going to remember all those who will benefit from it, all those like John who inspired it, and we will bless it and carry on that wider circle work. May we have hope and greater goodness. May we seek love always, and may we encounter glad surprises. May it be so.